Quick recap. I spent way too much money on way too much chocolate and said
Damn it.
way too many times
Damn it.
in search of a grand prize that never came to be.
Oh, snap, we won. Oh, Mr. Beach a Mr. Beach merch bundle. That's kind of sweet.
Turns out, not that sweet. But I made a promise with you fine folks that if I got 1,000 likes on that video, I'd give away $1,000 in this video. And you guys absolutely crushed it. Made me feel all warm inside. So with $1,000 and a bunch of chocolate to give away, I came up with the magical candy or cash double or nothing game. Simple concept with a twist. You keep what you picked, but if you won, players get the chance to go double or nothing. And I figured even if people lost, they get chocolate. But just when I finished my dorky studio test, I got an email that would change everything.
You got mail.
Somebody had saw my Mr. Beast video and knew I was going to be stuck with all of this chocolate, and he wanted to help. Apparently, there's a huge secondary market for Beast bars on eBay. Not gonna lie, my first thought when I saw it was,
It's something I can't do personally.
but then I thought a bird in hand is worth two in the bush. Plus, I've been really trying to put the pedal to the metal with this YouTube stuff. I hope it shows. So I talked my entrepreneurial side out of starting an eBay store, and I took the deal. But there was one problem. Since Mr. Beast is currently sold out, there's literally nowhere else to get them except eBay. So he couldn't do the deal unless he got them ASAP. The problem? He runs his eBay store 1,000 miles from my home state of Delco. Now, since the bars couldn't be broken, we were both wary of sending them via normal delivery services. However, when I looked into overnight shipping, I knew that was not going to be an option. So with the clock ticking, I had no other choice. I decided to drive $1,000 worth of chocolate across the country to a guy I never met before. God, I love the internet. Now, I did not forget that I promised $1,000 to give away. Mark my words, this video will not be over until that $1,000 is accounted for. Let's go. Road trip pro tip number 1. If you don't beat the sun, you're already done. Might as well stay home if you plan on leaving after daylight. Not only do you beat traffic, but when the sun comes up, you get this feeling of how much you already accomplished before the day even started. And before you know it, you're in Akron, Ohio. Why Akron? Because I was getting hungry and Google told me there was a place called Eddie's Famous Cheesesteaks, and that felt like destiny. When I got to Eddie's, I had to mention that I was from Philly, and a man behind the counter immediately perked up. Turns out it was Eddie himself, and he gave me a brief history of his shop. Best part of his story, he used to cart all his equipment around to different events. If the event didn't go well, to save money, he'd sleep in his truck, or what he called Hotel Pep 1281. I needed to hear that because all that time on the road this morning allowed my old friend named Self-Doubt to come calling.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
And I kept thinking, what the hell was I thinking? Spending $1,000 on Beast bars, promising another grand for this video, and then driving across the country with no clue of how any of this is going to turn out. What if my car breaks down? What if the guy doesn't show? What if this video flops? To sum it up, what if I fail? But hearing how proud Eddie was, talking about how he used to sleep in his truck after a bad event, seeing that license plate that represented the grind it took to build the shop that I was standing in, it made me think, $1 million or bust, these are the good old days that I'm going to look back on. So thanks for that perspective, Eddie, and thanks for that banging ass cheesesteak.
I'm loving it. It was a good cheesesteak.
Definitely made this a high point for the trip thus far. But just like Denzel told Will Smith after he physically assaulted one of my favorite comedians for no good reason,
Denzel said to me, at your highest moment, be careful, that's when the devil comes for you.
and sure enough, the devil was on the Ohio State Interstate in the form of this asshole. I was right outside of Sandusky, Ohio, home of Callahan Auto Parts and the 300 American workers who make the best car parts money can buy. When out of nowhere, this guy tried to kill me. I thought it was an honest mistake at first because after all, who tries to get in an accident at 70 miles an hour? But I realized it was on purpose when this jackass continued to with me and make friendly gestures every chance he could. What for? I still have no idea. I watched the tape back multiple times, all the way back to the point where I first encountered him, and I didn't see anything on my part that warranted any disapproval, let alone death. The only thing I could think of is maybe, if he was super narcissistic and paranoid and thought everything in this world is most likely a personal attack against him, maybe he thought I was flipping him the bird here. Of course, this had had to happen as I was applying lip balm with my pinky finger for those watching. Try not to be too intimidated by this display of masculinity. There are very few lines you can cross to get me thinking you need to be canceled, but attempted vehicular homicide is one of them. My only hope is that this driver goes and takes a nap on some train tracks, and if the world is so unfortunate that he is too awake, maybe then he can find an iota of purpose in his pathetic life, so next time he isn't willing to risk it all over literally nothing. As for me, I didn't have time for his nonsense. I had chocolate to deliver. And once I didn't have to worry about that jackass trying to hit me again, I had nothing but the open road ahead of me. And other than trying to figure out how the heck I'm going to give away the $1,000 I promised you, I was thinking about my near-death experience and how my cat-like reflexes and good luck prevented a tragedy. And I found myself falling into that terrible mindset that the world is full of crazy and angry people like this guy. But somewhere between the Save Ferris sign right outside of Chicago and getting blocked by the world's longest train when I was in desperate need of a bathroom, what dawned on me was that over the course of this trip, I would travel over 2,000 miles through 5 states, sharing the road with literally thousands of people, and I only had a problem with one. It would be foolish of me to shape my perspective of the world based on one asshole. What I'm saying is, I think this world is a lot better place than we tend to give it credit for. All that positivity aside, it wasn't lost on me that I was in the middle of nowhere about to meet a stranger from the internet for a bunch of cash at a random gas station in an unfamiliar city in the middle of the night. But most of that worry was assuaged when I finally met Nate, who showed up with that Midwesternness that makes you feel good about the world. I even gave him a laugh when he noticed me getting nervous talking about all that cash out there in the open like that.
So, the total, I don't want to do that, but the total would have been...
It always amazes me how we tend to project the worst into situations we're unfamiliar with.
I don't know where we are.
In my defense, though, where I'm coming from in the 40-some-odd hours it took me to make this trip, there were 9 shootings back home in Philadelphia, 3 of which happened at gas stations, 1 leading to a fatality and another hitting a puppy. You heard me right. Back in Philadelphia, puppies are catching strays. Meanwhile, the most wild thing to happen in Ames was a chocolate deal gone right and an obnoxious YouTuber busting out a ring light to take a picture of it. Isn't it something that we're all part of the same country? Now that I had the cash to keep my channel afloat, my mind shifted back to the $1,000 I had to give away as I checked into my own version of Hotel Pep 1281, what I've always called the Paradise by the Dashboard Light Motel. Road trip pro tip number 2, Walmart parking lots.
I will see you tomorrow. Good night.
Never mind that it's free. The problem with hotels is they get you comfortable, and comfort is the enemy of progress.
Good morning, Iowa.
For real though, you're not checking into a hotel for less than 5 hours, and that's just stealing time that could be spent on the road.
Beat the sun by half an hour. Let's rock.
So I was back on the road, and I hate to admit this, but I was getting a little stressed about finding a fun way to give away this money. And by the time I was ready for breakfast, the best idea I had was to give an absurd tip to the waitress. Thing is, I love seeing videos of random acts of kindness like that, and as someone who still works in the service industry, there's never been a tip that I didn't like to see. But what happened in this little slice of heaven changed everything for me. If there had been snow on the ground and a predictable love story, I would have been sure that I was on a Hallmark movie set. The woman running the diner, I think all by herself, literally greeted customers by name as they walked through the door. And I'm pretty sure I overheard a conversation about a neighborhood pet or animal that was wounded, but everybody was working together to take care of. The only drama in that place was a couple going back and forth with their neighbor as to who was going to pick up the tab. Meanwhile, I'm the only jackass in the building with a computer open. I felt like I was the character in the Hallmark movie who came from the big city and was too wrapped up in work to realize all the beauty around them. Don't get me wrong, I'm putting my heart and soul into growing this channel and I'm loving every second of it. But it would take a special sort of obnoxious to be willing to taint this wholesome place in search of YouTube views, you know? It's a piece of this content journey I gotta work out, and I share this for 2 reasons. 1, it reminded me, and I hope it reminds you, that you don't need to record a random act of kindness to make it worthwhile. And 2, since I promised you guys $1,000 and I didn't have the gumption to give it away on camera, that means it's going to you. 5 random subscribers will get $200 each. All I ask is that if you enjoyed my Jack Kerouac attempt at a YouTube video, you give it a thumbs up and comment down below. Appreciate you guys watching.